Hey, this is Craig from the Craig and Greg Show. You've heard Greg talk to me about the book that I wrote, but I want to talk for just a couple of minutes about a book that you are working right now, and I've had the privilege of kind of being behind the scenes, seeing some of this as it's going through. But this is, you're taking advice that was given to you by a previous generation and making some great applications to present day and going forward. Talk a little bit about this project.
I'm probably embarrassing my grandparents because all four of them, my two sets, have passed away. And I thought about it when I was having bagel with you one time. I'm like, this is something my grandma said. And you're like, whoa, what else you got?
Right.
And like, what do you mean what else I got? And you kind of begged it out of me. Like, well, my grandma said this, my grandpa said this, my dad said this, my mom. And you're like, that's a book. Huh? And as I put that list together, the chapters were quite entertaining and educational. And I will have to admit to any of the listeners, I didn't always heed the advice immediately. And those were some of the most costly lessons,
Sure.
And so I think I'll share my grandma's one. So for some who maybe know, most of you don't, I played a lot of sports and I had a good arm. So I threw a ball pretty much any sport I played. And my dad had a tough time finding a left-handed glove for me. Back then, it wasn't that popular, whatever. I mean, I'm sure they were left-handed, but they didn't play baseball. So I got a glove at 4 years old. I mean, it was a honker. I was maybe, 2 foot tall, and the glove was, 1.5 feet or whatever. It was like a scoop, like a highlight scoop. And my arm was getting a little long, but I had a good arm. So my grandma said, hey, drop Greg off, and I'll play catch in the backyard. So they had a nice little backyard, and I had a good arm. It just wasn't very accurate at 4. So my grandma had to go get the ball quite a few times. And then I was like, well, I'll go run and get it. And I could tell she was getting a little winded. And after she was winded, she goes, hey, let's get a popsicle and sit down on the steps. And I thought, sure. I'm sitting next to grandma, having a popsicle, having a great time. And she says, hey, do you want to know what you're going to be when you grow up? And I'm 4. And my grandma walks on water. I mean, she is amazing. So I'm like, yeah, what will I be? Whoever you hang around. I mean, talk about a clinker. I'm thinking as a 4-year-old, oh, so I shouldn't hang around that behavior or that problem. Yep. And so it really, and then I kind of continued the book and, did a lot with you. Just, is this a good chapter? What do you think? Is this funny? And you've encouraged, hey, put some more stories in there. So this book is full of stories. Some of them, are a little bit transparent, like, I can't believe Greg did that. Yeah, I did. I did a lot of things. My parole officer today. No, I'm just teasing. I'm not a parole officer. But the book is encouraging, and I think from people who have read the manuscript already, it has conjured up or invited their own thoughts. Like, yes. Oh, my grandma said something like that, or my grandpa always said that. Oh my gosh, you should put that in your book. Yep. Well, that wasn't my grandpa, but it's been a very thought-provoking, maybe a little bit of a philosophical, like, wow, they really cared. These pieces of advice, this sage advice, is a sign of caring to me.
So just keep watching because it's coming out soon.
It's coming out soon, yeah.
Sage advice. There's going to be this wisdom from his grandparents, and then every chapter you have an interview with somebody that is kind of a modern day leader talking about how they would apply that advice to their life, and then Greg's application as well. They're short chapters, easy to read, but every one of them is like packed with all of these. You're going to laugh at the stories, and then you're going to learn from them and be able to apply them. So keep coming back to MaximizeLeadership.com. We will post that information on there when we have it available, but be watching for sage advice. You're going to want to pick that book up.